Starting it out, Scott Goodyear into the lead, but disaster waited coming out of turn 2. Stan Fox loses it and takes him and Eddie Cheever up into the wall. A nasty mishap. A number of cars involved, a lot of debris on the track, and you can see the 2 cars coming to rest. That car on the left is Stan Fox. You can see the complete front end is gone. Take another look at it. You see Fox go up into the wall, along with Cheever, Lynn St. James, Gil DeFerrin, Carlos Guerrero, and Eric Bachelard also caught up in this mishap. One more time down low. You see Fox get loose, get on the rumple strips, and go right back up, nose first into the wall. A nasty, nasty lick. He was taken to Methodist Hospital where he underwent surgery for a closed head injury. He is still listed in very serious condition this evening. Once they return to green, Michael Andretti moves out into the lead, but that would not last. Watch it. Andretti gets up into loose stuff, and boom, nudges up against the outside wall. His day is done. He felt like he had the car to win it, but it would all go out the window right there. All right, let's go one more time now. Up front, not the best place to be. Up in front of Scott Goodyear here, you saw Jimmy Vasser go up against the wall, and he was leading at the time. He tags the wall, and his day is done. Vasser's car co-owned by Joe Montana. All right, that would mean that Scott Goodyear moved into the lead, but Scott Pruitt was in hot pursuit right behind him. But Pruitt pushes a little too hard, and he tags the outside wall and takes a nasty ride down up against the inside fence. An e-ticket ride indeed. He would be okay, but 16 laps to go. He goes from a run at winning this thing to finishing 19th. All right, on to the restart of this one. 11 laps to go. Scott Goodyear gets the run, and you can see him there, just blows past the pace car. He said the green light was out. The Indy steward said no, it wasn't. The yellow was still out. But they gave him the green flag to go back racing. Jacques Villeneuve, who was the second-place car. Now, he had been penalized 2 laps for passing the pace car earlier, but had worked his way back up and was now in second. But then with 8 laps to go, they give Goodyear the black flag to penalize him for a stop-and-go penalty. He never came in, so the stewards once again acted and removed him from the leaderboard and put the second-place car of Jacques Villeneuve into the lead. Villeneuve then goes on to win the Indy 500 to become the first Canadian ever to win at the Brickyard in the Indy 500. A major, major win indeed for Villeneuve. A most disappointing day for Goodyear.
Well, it feels great. You know, I'm lucky to be with one of the greatest teams. Even though it's not, you know, the big team, it's, you know, it works really well and really hard, and it's got the best people out there and a great chemistry, and that works really well.
The way you were running, good or disappointed?
Well, I think we all know throughout the world right now who won this motor race, and you know, if this decision stands, then I'll be ultimately very disappointed.
Is there an appeal to be made here?
Well, I think it's Steve Horn's decision, but I know from my point of view that we were past the pace car and the green light was flashing or there, stays on, and I can't tell you what disappointment it is to come down pit lane and get waved on past victory circle.
So it appears that the appeal will do no good even if they decide to do so. These are now the official results from Indy. Jacques Villeneuve wins the 79th edition of the Indy 500. Christian Fittipaldi, a rookie, was in second. He is the nephew of Emerson Fittipaldi. Former Indy winner Bobby Rahal was third. Rookie Eliseo Salazar was fourth, with Robbie Gordon rounding out the top 5. And as we said, those are now the official final standings of the top 5 in this year's Indy 500. All right, back to auto racing in the 1960s. That's right. Back in 1960, Hollywood produced a star-studded war movie called The Longest Day. Well, earlier this evening at Charlotte, NASCAR produced their yearly remake of The Longest Day. It was called the Coca-Cola 600. Now, this race is part of the Winston Million Series, but it's the longest grind on the entire NASCAR season. Todd Bodine in the early lead won the Winston Select Open last week, but trade some paint with Ward Burton, and he was the leader, but gets his bumper taken off and will fall out of the lead with that mishap. Fortunately, everyone else gets through. Bodine able to keep on racing, but Burton's day was done. Jeff Gordon's crew having a barbecue on this holiday weekend. Unfortunately, it was the right front brakes that were on fire doing the cooking in this one. Gordon would have a tough day all race long. As expected, DW Darrell Waltrip comes in on the first caution, ailing from that wreck last week with Earnhardt in the Winston Select. He had some broken ribs, so he steps out of the car to make room for backup driver Jimmy Hensley to step in and take it over the rest of the way. All right, check this one out. Tire on the loose. Look out. This one is making good headway, but unfortunately it belongs to Jeff Gordon. His troubles continue. The defending 600 champion has a rough day as he has to head back in for significant repair work. The Batmobile of Bill Elliott. That's right. The McDonald's Ford. Elliott painted in black this week because of the McDonald's promotion with the Batman movie. It was not a good omen as he winds up sticking it in the wall. Rusty Wallace next on the hit parade. He gets the bump from Robert Presley. Rusty does the 360. The roof flaps do their job to keep him down on the ground. Thank goodness for that. Rusty's seen enough of those barrel rolls in his time, but he noses it right up into the outside wall, and his evening was done. Dale Earnhardt was in the lead for a while. Ooh, look out. There's Bobby Labonte right on his bumper, knocking on the door, saying he is ready to move into the lead and get his first ever career Winston Cup win. And indeed, that would happen. Bobby Labonte goes on to win the Coca-Cola 600, should I say survives it, to win in the Chevy to give Joe Gibbs the win in the Coca-Cola 600, and as we said, Bobby Labonte's first ever career Winston Cup victory. Brother Terry Labonte was in second. Michael Waltrip puts Pontiac, the Pennzoil Pontiac, in third. Sterling Marlin was fourth. Ricky Rudd was fifth. In the sixth position was Dale Earnhardt. Hut Strickland was seventh, along with Lake Speed, Bobby Hillen, and Ricky Craven, rounding out the top 10. Now, as far as the NASCAR points are concerned, Earnhardt is still on top and has padded his lead a bit. He is now 80 points up on Mark Martin, who is in second. Sterling Marlin is 87 points back in third, with Jeff Gordon dropping to fourth, and Ted Musgrave rounding out the top 5 in points. On the Formula One circuit today, Michael Schumacher strengthened his hold on the F1 points lead. In Monte Carlo today, Germany's Michael Schumacher won the Monaco Grand Prix, finishing 34 seconds ahead of Britain's Damon Hill. Gerhard Berger was third, more than a minute behind the winner. Schumacher remains on top in the Formula One standings with 34 points. Damon Hill is 5 points back in second. All right, on the local tracks this weekend, a major evening of racing Saturday night out at Orlando Speedworld, the Hooters Series 200-lap main feature event. $10,000 to win this one. Gary Ballou won the first 100-lap segment. Then in the second segment, it would be a shootout. Darrell Shellnut, Mario Goslin, tangle on the backstretch. They are, needless to say, done for the night. A lot of sheet metal damage, but fortunately, both okay. Later on, a battle for the lead. Dick Anderson and Gary Ballou fighting for first. Look out, there's a huge pileup coming in this one. Smoke everywhere. Everyone looking for a place to hide in this one. Fortunately, here again, no one seriously injured. Mike Garvey takes over the lead and goes the rest of the way as Mike Garvey wins it. Mike McRae Jr. was second with Ronnie Sanders third. Look out, intermission. It's the Monsters trucks. That's right, the monster trucks squashing cars and doing all sorts of thrilling things for the fans out at Speedworld. On to the Florida Modified race. 50-lapper, $1,000 to win. Whoa, here comes Wayne Parker taking the shortcut. Winds out, taking out a couple of other cars, but fortunately all would be okay. The leaders, Lovelady and Greg Hughes, crash in turn one. More trouble there, but fortunately here again, both okay. Final lap, Jerry Simons goes on to win the Florida Modified event at Speedworld. All right, over at Bradenton last night in the DeSoto Thunder Series, another hot battle. Darrell Shellnut rolled into victory lane there. Dick Anderson was second, with Orlando favorite David Russell in the Horse and Around Farms Russell Automotive Machine finishing in third. All right, still to come tonight, the Florida State Seminoles are heading to the College World Series once again, and the New Jersey Devils earn a spot in the